The glittering Elite Motors showroom was the last place one would expect to witness a shocking display of arrogance. But when salesman Vincent Porter refused to serve a scruffy man dressed in worn jeans and a faded jacket, he had no idea he was snubbing one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, nor that his hasty judgment would cost him everything he'd worked for. Before we continue the story, tell us in the comment below, where are you watching from? And if you like these kinds of stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow at 7 p.m. we have an amazing fresh story lined up for you. Martin Shaw adjusted his Italian silk tie as he surveyed his domain. The Elite Motors showroom in Beverly Hills sparkled beneath carefully positioned spotlights that made the Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Bentleys gleam like jewels on display. As the owner of Los Angeles' most exclusive luxury car dealership, Martin had built his reputation by catering to the elite, movie stars, music moguls, tech billionaires. Everyone came to Elite Motors when they desired automotive perfection. Vincent, Martin called to his best salesman, the new Bugatti Chiron arrives tomorrow. Make sure the display area is immaculate. Vincent Porter nodded enthusiastically, his pomaded hair catching the light. At 38, Vincent was the dealership's star, renowned for his remarkable ability to match affluent clients with their perfect vehicles. His commission checks were legendary among the staff. Already done, sir, Vincent replied, and I've notified our best clients. I expect we'll have a buyer before it even hits the showroom. Martin smiled approvingly. Vincent understood the philosophy of Elite Motors. Appearance was everything. From the marble floors to the designer suits worn by his salespeople, every detail projected exclusivity and success. The wealthy didn't just buy cars here, they bought an experience. Excellent. I'm off to a lunch meeting with investors. You're in charge until I return. As Martin exited through the glass doors, Vincent straightened his tailored Tom Ford suit, preparing for a quiet afternoon. Tuesdays were typically slow, allowing him time to organize client calls and prepare for the week's high rollers. What he wasn't prepared for was the scruffy man who entered 20 minutes later. The stranger paused just inside the entrance, glancing around with quiet interest. His appearance caused Vincent's meticulously groomed eyebrows to rise in disapproval. The man wore worn jeans, dusty work boots, and a frayed cap pulled down over his long, unkempt hair. His beard was scraggly, and the faded jacket he wore had clearly seen better days. Scratched sunglasses completed the look. Vincent watched as the man casually approached a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, hands tucked loosely in his pockets. When the stranger leaned down to inspect the interior, Vincent decided to intervene before security became necessary. "Excuse me," Vincent said, approaching with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This is a private showroom. I'm afraid we're not open for general visits." The man turned around, pushing his sunglasses up slightly. He pushed his sunglasses up to reveal kind eyes. "Oh, I was actually interested in buying a car today," he said in a measured tone. Vincent's smile stiffened. He had heard this routine before. People coming in to admire cars they could never afford, wasting his precious time when he could have been cultivating real clients. "Sir, our vehicles start at $100,000. Perhaps one of our more affordable competitors could serve you better." Vincent gestured toward the door. Beverly Hills Luxury Auto is just down the street. They have some nice second-hand options. The stranger simply blinked, looking more curious than offended. "I understand that these cars are expensive. Money isn't a problem." Vincent let out a light, condescending laugh. "I'm sure. However, we operate by appointment only for serious buyers." It was a lie, but one Vincent had used before to ward off undesirable visitors. "I don't have an appointment, but I'd really like to see the 2024 Bentley Continental GT, if you have it." "We have it," Vincent replied, but he broke off, irritated by the man's persistence. "Look, sir, Elite Motors serves a particular clientele. Without an appointment and the proper credentials, I'll have to ask you to leave." Something in the stranger's expression shifted, not in anger, but in a sort of resigned understanding. He had clearly experienced this type of treatment before. "I understand," he said calmly, pulling out a phone that was much newer than Vincent had expected. "I'll try elsewhere." Vincent watched smugly as the man turned to leave. He didn't notice Alicia, the young receptionist, looking up from her desk with wide eyes. She rushed toward them, cutting off the man's path to the door. "Excuse me," she said, her voice slightly trembling. "Are you?" The man smiled warmly, removing his sunglasses completely. "Yes, I am." Vincent's blood ran cold as the color drained from his face. He recognized the distinctive voice and the gentle manner of one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. Famous not only for blockbusters like The Matrix and John Wick, but also for his legendary kindness and humility, despite his estimated fortune of over $400 million. "Mr. Reeves," Alicia continued, shooting Vincent a horrified look. "I'm so sorry for the confusion. We would be honored to show you our collection." Keanu smiled kindly at the young woman. "That's very kind of you, but I think I'll try elsewhere. Thank you anyway." He gave a small bow before heading toward the exit. Vincent rushed forward, panic rising in his throat. "Mr. Reeves, I had no idea. Please accept my apologies. We would be absolutely delighted to assist you today." Keanu stopped, studying Vincent with an expression of gentle curiosity rather than anger. "It's all good, man. No problem." "Please," Vincent insisted, the desperation cracking his polished veneer. "May I show you the Continental GT? It's an extraordinary car. We have it right." He had received it just last week. He shouldn't have judged so quickly. Keanu's eyes crinkled slightly at the corners. "The fact is," he said gently, "you shouldn't treat anyone that way, famous or not." He offered a small, sad smile before walking out the door. Vincent stood frozen, watching through the glass as Keanu Reeves climbed onto a motorcycle. Not even one of the luxury models Vincent would have expected, and rode away. The entire encounter had lasted less than 5 minutes, but Vincent had a feeling it would haunt him for much longer. "I can't believe you just did that," Alicia whispered, her face pale. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Before Vincent could answer, his phone buzzed with a text from another salesman. "Dude, did you seriously just kick Keanu Reeves out of the showroom?" Vincent's stomach twisted. Someone had seen it happen, and in the age of social media, that meant soon everyone would know. Meanwhile, Keanu wasn't particularly upset as he rode his arch motorcycle through the streets of Beverly Hills. After decades in Hollywood, he was used to being judged by his appearance, sometimes positively, sometimes not. Today, he had chosen comfort over style, having just finished helping a friend move furniture. The encounter at Elite Motors had been unpleasant, but it was hardly the worst he'd ever experienced. He pulled into the driveway of another luxury dealership, Prestige Automotive. Unlike the cold modernism of Elite Motors, Prestige was housed in a converted Spanish-style villa, with fountains and palm trees giving it a more relaxed atmosphere. As Keanu parked his motorcycle, a woman in her 50s stepped out of the main entrance. Sofia Rodriguez had been running Prestige Automotive for 15 years after inheriting it from her father. Unlike many dealerships that relied on high-pressure sales tactics, Sofia believed in building relationships, a philosophy that had earned her a loyal clientele among those who valued discretion over flashiness. "Good afternoon," she called out warmly as she approached. "Welcome to Prestige. I'm Sofia Rodriguez, the owner." "Keanu Reeves," he replied, extending his hand. "Nice to meet you." If Sofia recognized him, and she almost certainly did, she gave no indication beyond a slight widening of her eyes. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Reeves. What brings you to us today?" "I'm looking for a gift for a friend who just directed their first feature film. They've always loved Bentleys, specifically the Continental GT." Sofia's expression softened in appreciation. "An excellent choice. In fact, we have a 2024 model in British racing green that arrived last week. Would you like to see it?" As Sofia guided him through the showroom, treating him with the same respectful attention she would have given any client, Keanu felt himself relaxing. This was how business should be conducted, with dignity and without prejudice. "Your friend is lucky to have someone so thoughtful in their life," Sofia commented as they approached the Bentley. "Most people wouldn't consider such a generous gift." Keanu shrugged. "He took a chance on me for a role when others wouldn't. And beyond that, he's just a good person. The world needs more people like that." Sofia smiled, recognizing the sincerity in his words. "Well then, let me show you what makes this particular model so special." For the next hour, they discussed the vehicle's features, arranged a test drive, and completed the paperwork for the purchase. Not once did Sofia mention his films or his celebrity status. She simply treated him like a valued customer, which Keanu appreciated more than she could have known. As they wrapped up the transaction, Sofia handed him her business card. "If you need anything, please don't hesitate to call, Mr. Reeves. Thank you for choosing Prestige." Keanu slipped the card into his pocket with a nod. "Thank you for making everything so easy." As he walked away, He couldn't help but reflect on the stark contrast between his two experiences that day. One dealership had seen only his appearance, the other had seen the person. It wasn't about fame, it was about basic human dignity. Meanwhile, back at Elite Motors, things had spiraled out of control beyond Vincent's worst fears. Apparently, a customer in the showroom had recognized Keanu and overheard the entire exchange. Within an hour, the story had spread across social media, complete with a secretly taken photo of Vincent blocking Keanu's path to the Bentley. Hashtag Elite Motors Fail was trending locally, with thousands of people sharing their own stories of being judged by their appearance at luxury establishments. Several of Keanu's co-stars had weighed in, sharing stories of his humility and generosity. Even worse for Vincent, several Elite Motors clients, including 2 film producers and a famous rapper, had publicly announced that they would be taking their business elsewhere. Martin's face was livid as he summoned Vincent into his office. "What the hell were you thinking?" he demanded, throwing his phone onto the desk, where accusatory social media posts glowed back at them. "I had no idea it was him." Vincent stammered. He looked like a homeless guy. Worn-out jacket, old jeans. "How was I supposed to know?" "You weren't supposed to know," Martin shouted, his composure finally breaking. "That's the point. We don't judge clients by how they look. We treat everyone with respect. That's what Elite Motors is supposed to stand for." Vincent blinked, confused. In his 7 years working for Martin, that had never been the message. Everything about Elite Motors screamed exclusivity and judgment, from the intimidating minimalist design to the unspoken rule of approaching only those who looked like they belonged. "But you've always said that image is everything," Vincent protested weakly. "Our image, you idiot," Martin growled. "Our presentation to the world, not our judgment of anyone who walks through that door." Martin ran a hand through his silver hair. Do you have any idea how much damage you've done?" Vincent swallowed hard. "I'll call him. I'll apologize personally." "It's too late for that," Martin sighed, suddenly looking tired. "The damage is done. Keanu bought a Bentley Continental GT from Prestige Automotive an hour ago. Sofia Rodriguez just called me to thank me for sending such an important client her way. She thought it was a professional courtesy." Vincent's stomach dropped. Prestige was their main competitor, known for its more personalized approach, which Elite had always dismissed as outdated. "And," Martin continued, "I've received calls from 3 major clients canceling their standing orders. One specifically mentioned that they don't want to do business with a company that judges people by their clothes. What can I do to fix this?" Vincent asked desperately. Martin stared at him for a long moment. "Nothing, Vincent. You're fired." "What? You can't be serious. For one mistake?" "This isn't just about Keanu Reeves," Martin said sharply. "It's about what you've revealed about yourself, and by extension, what people now believe about my business. I can't allow this to represent Elite Motors." Vincent's hands trembled. 7 years of building his client list, his reputation, and his lifestyle, gone in an instant because he had judged a man by his clothes. The irony wasn't lost on him. "Clear out your desk," Martin said, turning back toward his computer. "HR will process your final paycheck." As Vincent walked across the showroom toward his desk, he felt the stares of his colleagues. News traveled fast. The whispers would start the moment he left the building. By tomorrow, everyone in the industry would know why Vincent Porter no longer worked at Elite Motors. Alicia watched him with a mix of pity and satisfaction as he packed his belongings into a box. She had been on the receiving end of Vincent's condescension more than once. "Do you need help carrying that to your car?" she asked politely. "No," Vincent mumbled, unable to meet her gaze. "I've got it." As he walked toward his BMW in the employee parking lot, Vincent's phone buzzed repeatedly with notifications. He didn't need to look to know what they were: colleagues and industry contacts reacting to the news of his spectacular downfall. In the world of luxury cars, reputation was everything, and his had just been destroyed. 3 months later, Keanu Reeves had almost forgotten about the incident at Elite Motors. He had delivered the Bentley to his friend, celebrated the film's successful premiere, and moved on to his next project. He wasn't one to dwell on negative experiences. He was surprised, then, to receive a letter from Martin Shaw, the owner of Elite Motors. It was a formal apology for his employees' behavior, but also something more. It was an invitation to visit the dealership again, both to see the changes they had made and to help launch a new initiative. Curious, Keanu decided to accept. When he arrived at Elite Motors 2 weeks later, he found the showroom. The showroom had been transformed. Gone were the intimidating white spaces and harsh lighting. Instead, comfortable seating areas invited conversation, and the vehicles were displayed in more accessible arrangements. Most surprising was the new sign near the entrance. "Everyone deserves respect." Martin greeted him warmly. "Mr. Reeves, thank you for coming. You can't imagine how much this means to us." "I was curious," Keanu admitted. "Your letter mentioned changes." Martin nodded. "After what happened, I did some serious reflection. I realized I had been promoting the wrong culture, one based on superficial judgment rather than genuine service. We've completely restructured our approach." He gestured to a young woman approaching them, Alicia, the receptionist who had recognized Keanu during his previous visit. "This is Alicia Chun, our new director of customer experience," Martin said proudly. "She's been instrumental in our transformation." Alicia smiled. "We've established a comprehensive training program focused on fair treatment and eliminating bias. Every member of the team follows it, including Mr. Shaw. And we've also partnered with local workforce development programs," she added. "Which brings me to why I invited you here," Martin continued. "We're launching a scholarship fund to help disadvantaged youth enter the luxury automotive industry. We would be honored if you would lend your name to the initiative." Keanu considered this thoughtfully. "What happened to the salesman, Vincent?" Martin and Alicia exchanged glances. "Vincent was fired immediately," Martin admitted. "But ultimately, the responsibility was mine for creating that environment. I've tried to make amends." Keanu nodded slowly. "I appreciate the changes you've made. As for the scholarship program, I'd prefer it not to carry my name, but I'd be happy to contribute anonymously. It sounds like a worthy cause." As they continued discussing the program, none of them were aware of Vincent Porter sitting in a rundown vehicle across the street, watching them. After being fired from Elite Motors, Vincent had learned how quickly a single mistake could destroy a career built on superficial values. No luxury dealership would touch him after the incident had gone viral. His reputation had become toxic. Eventually, he had found work at a used car lot on the outskirts of the city. His commission checks were now a fraction of what they once were. His designer suits had been sold to cover rent when his savings ran dry. The cruel irony wasn't lost on him. He was now living the precarious financial life he had once looked down on in others. He had learned the hard way that appearances weren't everything, character was. Unfortunately for Vincent, that lesson had come too late. Inside Elite Motors, Keanu shook Martin's hand, agreeing to support the scholarship program. As he prepared to leave, he paused at the entrance, looking at the new welcome sign. "Everyone deserves respect." Reading it aloud with a small smile, Keanu added, "A truly excellent philosophy." Martin couldn't help but laugh at the reference to one of Keanu's most beloved movie characters. "We're trying to be better," Martin said. "That's all any of us can do," Keanu replied with the quiet wisdom that had made him beloved by millions. He pulled his cap over his head and stepped into the California sunlight, unaware of how his simple presence had transformed not only a business, but also every person touched by the unexpected events of that day. Vincent watched him go, a vivid reminder that a person's character will always matter more than the cut of their clothes. It was a lesson he would. Thank you for watching. If the story warms your heart, subscribe to the channel and click the screen for more inspirational stories of resilience, compassion, and hope.